LeBron James was under pressure before he was even old enough to vote. At 16, Sports Illustrated put him on the cover and called him the chosen one. ESPN aired his high school games. Nike paid him before he ever played a single NBA minute. By the time Cleveland took him first overall in 2003, it did not feel like a beginning. It felt like a deadline. And somehow he delivered immediately. As a rookie, he put up 20.9 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 5.9 assists a game. Most players would spend years trying to reach that level. For LeBron, that only made the expectation worse. By 22, he was already in the finals. He got swept, and people still treated it like failure. Then came the Boston loss in 2010. The decision in the 2011 finals collapse against Dallas. Every step became national judgment. Every mistake became history. LeBron was not just asked to be great. He was asked to justify a prophecy that started when he was still a teenager. Zion Williamson arrived in the NBA like a finished product before he had even played a full season. His high school dunks were already viral, his Duke games felt like national events, and by the 2019 draft, the league was treating him less like a prospect and more like the next unstoppable force. New Orleans did not just draft a star, they drafted a future franchise savior. The numbers when he actually played backed up the excitement. In his rookie season, Zion averaged 22.5 points on 58.3% shooting, which is absurd efficiency for a young player with that much defensive attention. But the pressure never came from bad performances. It came from absence. 24 games, then 61, then none, then 29. That rhythm turned every return into another test. His weight conditioning and durability became louder than his actual production. Zion's pressure was not about proving he was talented. It was about proving his career could stay on the floor long enough to become real. Ben Simmons looked like the modern prototype. He was 6'10", could handle the ball, defend multiple positions, and pile up all-star selections early. On paper, that should have been the foundation of a superstar. But his career got trapped inside one question he never escaped. Why would he not shoot? That question slowly became louder than everything else he actually did well. Across multiple seasons, defenses stopped respecting him outside the paint. It changed spacing, changed playoff possessions, and eventually changed how the entire league talked about him. Then came the Atlanta series in 2021. Late in Game 7, Simmons passed up a point-blank shot near the rim, and that single decision became the image people used to summarize his entire career. After that, the confidence issues, the public fallout in Philadelphia, and the long separation from the Sixers turned pressure into something much heavier. Ben Simmons was not crushed by a lack of talent. He was crushed by one visible ceiling everyone could see. Shaq entered the league with a problem most players would kill to have. He was too dominant too early. As a rookie in 1992, he averaged 23.4 points, 13.9 rebounds, and 3.5 blocks, made the All-Star team immediately, and looked like a force the NBA had not seen in years. But that did not create patience. It created a bigger standard. People were not asking whether Shaq would be great. They were asking whether he would become the greatest center ever. That is where the pressure changed shape. In Orlando, the question was why the finals were not coming fast enough. In Los Angeles, good seasons meant nothing without championships. Then he won 3 straight titles, 3 straight finals MVPs, and still the conversation did not fully stop. His conditioning got criticized. His free throw shooting got weaponized with Hack-a-Shaq. Even after 4 rings, the public debate stayed the same. Shaq was not measured against stars. He was measured against an impossible version of himself. Patrick Ewing did not arrive in New York as just another #1 pick. He arrived as a promise. The Knicks had not won a title since 1973. Madison Square Garden was the loudest stage in basketball, and the city treated Ewing like the man who was supposed to end all of it. That kind of pressure does not fade after a bad week or a bad month. In New York, it stays in the air for years. And Ewing gave them almost everything except the one thing they wanted most. He made the playoffs again and again. He became an 11-time All-Star. He took the Knicks to the finals. He battled through one of the hardest eras possible, but New York does not grade careers on context. It grades them on parades. So even with Hall of Fame, Production Ewing's story kept getting reduced to one missing ring. In that city, greatness without a title still felt unfinished. Victor Wembanyama entered the NBA with the kind of pressure that almost never exists. He was not called a future star. He was called the best prospect anyone had seen in years, maybe ever. Teams openly lost games for the chance to draft him. Before he played one regular season minute, people were already blending Kevin Durant's skill, Rudy Gobert's defense, and Kareem's ceiling into one impossible expectation. That is not normal pressure. That is pressure with mythology attached to it. Wembanyama's size, shot blocking, and perimeter skill made the hype feel justified almost immediately, but that only made the microscope stronger. Every great game became proof he was generational. Every ordinary stretch became a debate. And hanging over all of it is the same fear that follows every extremely tall superstar: can the body survive? The burden San Antonio is building its future around him already. He is not being asked to become special. He is being asked to become historic. Subscribe for more NBA pressure stories. Back to it. Anthony Davis never had to prove he was gifted. He had to prove his body would stop interrupting it. From Kentucky to the NBA, the talent was obvious. He was the first pick in 2012, won a national title in college, averaged 4.7 blocks. There then quickly became one of the league's most dominant two-way big men. In New Orleans, the numbers were elite. The wins were not. That is when the pressure changed. He was no longer judged by talent. He was judged by whether he could carry a franchise. Then he got to Los Angeles, where excuses disappear. In 2020, he answered everything. The Lakers won the title. Davis was brilliant, averaging 25.3 points and 8.4 rebounds in the regular season and looking like one of the best players alive in the bubble. But after that, the same sentence kept returning. Shoulder, ankle, back, eye, hand. For Anthony Davis, even praise started sounding like pressure. Greg Oden's pressure did not come from hype alone. It came from one name sitting directly behind him in the 2007 draft, Kevin Durant. Portland chose Oden first because he looked like the safer franchise center, a dominant interior force compared to Shaq for power and Bill Russell for defense. That kind of profile already carried enormous weight, but once the injury started, the pressure became something crueler. Microfracture surgery erased his rookie season. More knee injuries followed. Then came another lost year, then another setback, and suddenly the league moved on while the comparison stayed frozen in place. Oden played only 105 NBA games. Durant, the player drafted right after him, became an MVP, a scoring champion, and one of the greatest scorers the sport has ever seen. Oden was never judged on his own timeline. He was judged against the career Portland passed on, and that made every injury feel even heavier. Kevin Durant's pressure was never about talent. That was obvious from the start. He came into the league in 2007, averaged over 20 points as a teenager, then kept climbing until he became one of the most unstoppable scorers basketball had ever seen. By 2014, he was league MVP, carrying Oklahoma City with a game that looked almost impossible to defend. Long arms, clean handle, effortless scoring. The kind of player franchises wait decades to find. Changed once the titles did not come in OKC. The 2012 finals loss hurt. The 2016 collapse against Golden State changed everything. Then Durant joined the same Warriors team that had won 73 games and just eliminated him. He won 2 championships there, and somehow the pressure did not disappear. It just changed form. Now it was legacy pressure. Were the rings enough? Was the path too easy? Durant won, but the argument followed him anyway. Derrick Rose was not carrying ordinary pressure. He was a Chicago kid drafted first overall by the Chicago Bulls, a franchise still living in the shadow of Michael Jordan. That meant he was not just expected to become a star. He was expected to bring a wounded city back to the top. And for one stretch, it looked like he actually might do it. Rose won Rookie of the Year. Then in 2011, at just 22 years old, he became the youngest MVP in NBA history and led the Bulls to 62 wins. Everything pointed upward. Chicago had its new icon. Then the collapse happened in real time. In the 2012 playoffs, Rose tore his ACL. The next season, he tore the meniscus in his other knee. Then more injuries followed. The explosiveness faded. The future changed. Rose did not become a dynasty cornerstone. He became one of the clearest examples of how fast pressure can turn into heartbreak. Dwight Howard entered Orlando with a comparison that was never going to leave him alone. The Magic had already lived through Shaq, so the moment Dwight arrived as the first pick in 2004, people started treating him like the next version of that same blueprint. By his third season, he was already averaging 17.6 points and 12.3 rebounds, leading the league on the glass and turning into one of the best defensive anchors in basketball. Then came 3 straight Defensive Player of the Year awards and a 2009 finals run as Orlando's clear #1 option. That should have settled everything. It did not. His offensive game got compared to Shaq's. His free throws got attacked. His playoff losses got magnified. Even a Hall of Fame resume started sounding incomplete because the comparison was wrong from the start. Dwight was not judged as Dwight Howard. He was judged as the version of Shaq people wanted him to become. Yao Ming did not enter the NBA carrying normal superstar pressure. He arrived carrying a country. When Houston took him first overall in 2002, he was not viewed as just a franchise center. He was seen as a symbol of China stepping onto the biggest basketball stage in the world. Every game mattered beyond the Rockets. Every performance was being judged by fans, media, and an entire international audience waiting to see whether he truly belonged. And for a while, he absolutely did. Yao became an 8-time All-Star, developed into one of the league's most skilled big men, and helped turn Houston into a serious playoff team. But the pressure around him never stayed simple. His All-Star selections sparked debates about popularity versus merit. Then the injuries took over. Foot problems, ankle issues, surgeries, missed seasons. The career never got the uninterrupted run it needed. Yao was not just trying to meet expectations. He was trying to survive the weight of millions of them. Some players carried pressure because they were great. Others carried it because the world decided too early who they had to become. In the NBA, talent can build a career. Expectation can break one.